Hi, I'm Dave Williams, and I'm going to do a gear dump. This is when Western hunting meets Eastern hunting, when the East meets the West. So I'm going to do a pack dump for a trip intended for like a 3-day decent weather, early season, let's call it November, early November, first, second week of November. No snow, no hot tent. So this is not ultra light, but it's lightweight. My pack is probably, with food, which isn't included in here, would probably be 20 to 25 pounds. They say, as a good rule of thumb, use 1.5 pounds of pack weight for 10 pounds of body weight. So a 200-pound person shouldn't really exceed 30 pounds. I'm not wearing my clothes because it's summer, so I've got them on top. My pack weight was at 13 pounds with all the essentials. That's shelter, the big three, sleeping bag, and sleeping pad. So 13 pounds. I'm carrying a sub 20-pound pack. This is, again, you might take off on a trail and do a throwdown at night, and decent weather. So let me get started here. Some of my layering system: merino wool, heavyweight, just happens to be First Light. So this is one of my base layers. The base layer, merino wool. This stuff you can live in for a week, it doesn't stink. That's why backpackers, hunters love merino wool. So long pants, merino wool, boxers, key. Merino wool underlayer, base layer shirt. This just happens to be icebreaker. So the pants and the shirt are icebreakers. First light, and then I'll get into my outer shells. I happen to be a fan of the lightness and the comfort of some of the First Light. So here's my outer shell and my pants. Again, light, sleek, high drying, wicking. One of the key things that I've discovered over the years with cold feet is this is a game changer. My friend Dennis and I discovered the Stone Glacier Grumman pants. When you get cold feet, you put on these Grumman pants, game changer. They zipper down the sides, so you don't have to take off your boots. You could just simply drop your base or your outer shell, zip on these pants, a cold morning, and whatever, you'd be surprised on how quickly your feet will warm up. Since I'm not wearing my boots, let me just show you what I would use early season. I'm a fan of Crispies, Mindles. There's a lot of manufacturers out there, but the amount of weight that you put on your feet makes a big difference in the distance that you can go. A higher boot compared to these, you could be as much as a pound and a half difference in a pair of boots. So hikers typically wear hiking boots. I have Crispy Hunters. When we get into the foul weather and whatever, I might go to a Hunter, a taller, but I'm gaining a pound and a half in the boots. Another game changer, footbeds. Hiking in, I always have a quality arch supportive footbed. When I get into a location, I can pull these footbeds out and then just use a heavier weight sock, because you have to have room for your feet to circulate. So I'm wearing a lighter sock on the way in, pulling the footbeds out and changing to a heavier sock. All my miscellaneous and incidentals I just throw it in a Ziploc bag so I can see things. And I'll get into that in a second. Another insulating layer. Patagonia makes a great lightweight puffy jacket. This just happens to be a Mont Bell. I'll tell you what, when you feel that chill, having a nice lightweight puffy jacket to add when you stop after a long day of hiking is critical. Some other miscellaneous clothes. Happens to be a -33 beanie, merino wool for my cap. -33 neck gaiter, another game changer. When you start protecting your neck, and that's where all that blood is flowing, makes a huge difference in staying warm. Merino wool First Light beanie. I like that brim if there was any, light snow or whatever. And again, merino wool. To protect the lower parts of my legs, because with hiking boots, it's hard to keep your feet warm. When it's down to 15 degrees, it's difficult. So these are leg gaiters. If I have a sock that's like mid-height, I add leg gaiters just above my boots on each side for that extra warmth. You don't have a whole lot of insulation. Even with the insulated pants and the hunting pants, that lower portion, wrapping these leg gaiters around the bottom of my boots was another huge game changer. Gloves, typically, everything's wool. I have an outer layer of wool, an inner layer of wool on the cold mornings. When things warm up during the day, a lighter layer of merino wool might suffice. If I'm just hunting barehanded during the middle of the day and it's slightly cold, I discovered these wrist gaiters, and they're wool, made by Ivanhoe. Again, it's a layering system. You add what you need, but it's nice to have things, just having that area and your jacket over it, you can withstand some of the cooler temperatures without freezing. When it comes to socks, again, I hike in with a lighter layer of socks. Game changer. A light wicking layer of polypropylene sock inside your boot, inside your heavier layer of socks, creates a friction that is warming. So polypropylene light layer socks is a must. Here's a pair of alpaca wool heavier socks. So in my hiking boots, I only have so much room. That wicking layer and the heavier layer is all that I need to stay pretty warm. On mornings where it's really cold, another game changer. These toe warmers are not a joke. This stuff will keep your feet comfortable for 3 or 4 hours. So I always bring a couple of toe warmers for those slow moving, still hunting, chilly mornings. Okay, so let's get into some of the other gear as it comes out. In my big 3 is in the bottom of my pack. A sit pad or any insulating pad for kneeling and or throughout the day if you want to sit on a frozen log or whatever. These little Thermarest pads are great, or even foam packaging from products is key. All right, let's get into some of my cook system components, because that's how I would unpack them. I like to have a 1 gallon water container because when I filter, I don't want to filter more than once. So I'll go through a gallon plus a day between breakfast and dinner. This is not a hot tent backpack, which means if I'm boiling water, I have isobutane, and I'll have a little stove. I have the micro light stove with a piezo igniter, super lightweight, great little lightweight stove. When I take off to go hunting during the day, I have a day pack. So I'll throw all my survival gear and all of my miscellaneous stuff, lunch and whatever. The best thing I've discovered is this X-Ped pack. It's waterproof, roll top. I put it on my back and I put my clothes right over it. I don't like, if there was snow, things dripping down, hitting a fanny pack and whatever. So I've always been a backpack kind of person, and this X-Ped pack works great for that. Water purification. You know, I use 3 different types: platypus, Sawyer squeeze, but the go-to is still the Katahdin Pro Hiker. You have to be careful that you don't let these things freeze. So pumping them clean of water and making sure that that element doesn't freeze is critical. Otherwise you ruin your filter. But these things I can pump a gallon of water in about 3 or 4 minutes. So I'll forego the weight differential of like a Sawyer squeeze and use this just for speed. And during the day I need another water container, so I'll have something like a platypus that I can filter water into. Okay, so getting into like the big 3. Here's a tent. This happens to be a Big Agnes Copper Spur Dyneema tent. 1 pound 4 ounces with poles, self-standing tent. If I'm out there and I'm not really worried, not going to get wet, I don't need to dry things out, I want the lightest weight shelter that I can find, and this is it. This is my go-to for a 1-person kind of setup. As far as sleeping pads, I've used a lot of sleeping pads over the years, and the go-to is still the X-Ped. This is a this is a down mat, ultralight winter. I dare say this one is an R9. R meaning the insulating value. This one's got a lot of miles on it. You can see some patches with Gorilla Tape. That patch is 3 years old. That was a quick patch from a thorn from Ohio that went through and popped my pad. I'm absolutely surprised. I can't get the patch off, and it's worked. You can use the pad or the self-inflator bag that comes with these pads. It's light and it doubles as a few things. I like it because it can work as a meat sack. Okay, so it doubles as something else, or a stuff sack, or whatever. That attaches to it, and about 4 or 5 bagfuls of air, my pad is inflated. Talking about pillows. I'm not a pillow person. I don't pack my fears at all. This is a Z-Packs Cuban fiber stuff sack with a fleece on one side. At night, it's nice to have a pillow, but I have a pillow that's a stuff sack. So I'll stuff my puffy jacket in here, and that doubles as my pillow. Sleeping bags. I'm a believer in down. You know, they say with synthetic, oh, you know, got to have synthetics of getting wet and whatever. I've used down all my life, and I've even had down slightly wet. Don't get the down wet, you won't have a problem. My go-to bag is a Western Mountaineering typically I will use a 15-degree mummy bag. And if I want to extend the season, I have a Western Mountaineering Summer Light, which is like a 30-degree bag. You can put a bag in a bag and extend your bags. I have 5 sleeping bags. Feathered Friends is a great bag. North Face makes a great bag. There are a lot of good bags out there. Bottom line, lightweight, quality down. These are all $850, $900 down. You're paying for what you get, and none of this gear is cheap. Backpacks. I own 4 or 5 different manufacturers of backpacks. I'm going light. This is a Cuban fiber backpack by Z-Packs. It's 1 pound, 4 ounces. Okay. To give a comparison, I have an Exo Mountain pack, an incredible pack. 5 pounds, 10 ounces empty. 4 pounds difference. 4 pounds difference. This Z-Packs pack, they say, you know, don't exceed 30 to 35 pounds. I'm in the 20, 25 pound range, fully stocked with food. There's enough cubic inches in this pack, especially when I'm wearing my clothes and whatever, to do what I need to do when I'm trying to go lightweight. Let me show you some other things that are super important. So a ground cloth. You can use anything from ground cloth. Tyvek. We use synthetic roof felt. This is a Cuban fiber ground cloth from Z-Packs. Ultra lightweight. Doubles as a tarp. And expensive. But I like it when it comes time to cut weight in bulk. You've seen how it really rolls up pretty small. Headlamps. Okay, they say don't pack your fears. You only need 1 headlamp. I've been in the Adirondacks where a headlamp failed. It's so dark, I couldn't see. I mean, it is, when you're in ultimate darkness and you're fumbling through your pack and you can't find your other light and you're alone, it's daunting. I carry 2. A headlamp, and this is a small military light, LED kind of thing. That's my backup. That's my savior. Don't get caught with no headlamp or on your way back to camp at night and your headlamp goes out. Compasses. You know the saying, 2 is 1? I carry bubble compasses. I use a GPS. A lot of guys use a bubble compass. Well, if you lose that, you have a compass on your GPS. We have multiple. 2 is 1. I always carry 2 compasses. And a backup GPS. My phone is my GPS, but if my phone has a problem or goes dead or whatever, yeah, I can use my compass to get near the location of my camp, but not exact. I just prefer for the weight a backup GPS. Garmin InReach Mini, always letting everybody know exactly where I'm at all times. If I'm hiking or camping with somebody, those Garmin InReach Minis are a lifesaver, game changer. Charging of GPSs or InReaches or whatever. A USB charger, 10,000 milliamp, to me gets me 4 or 5 days with a lightning cord. My friend Dennis discovered these emergency charge packs. They're good for up to 8 years, and I haven't used them yet, but I keep this in my pack. Super slim, super lightweight. Gets about 3 hours or whatever of charge time. Again, I've had the phone down to 15% and starting to get pretty nervous. And I'm like, if I don't have this heavy 10,000 milliamp charger, I feel a lot better having this credit card type of charger in my pack. A lot of people don't even know about things like that. Blowing up air pads or sleeping pads, the flex tails are a new on the market. So to inflate your pad, these things are super. Also works as a light. They make a flex tail light. It's lighter, whatever. Dennis and I love these flex tails because it's also a hanging light, which you won't be able to see on camera during the day. Hunting gear wise, you know, extra bullets, grunt tube. You know, I like the Alpha Hunter. It's worked fine over the years. I like a deer blow. Okay, a snort kind of call. A lot of guys will do a blow themselves. You go, when a deer blows at you, blowing back. To me, this is not nearly as important as this. I've had super luck with blowing at a deer, snorting at a deer, and having them go a couple hundred yards and turn to come back to see what I was, which was not a good situation for the deer. My version of an ultralight sling for my rifle. Rarely do I use a sling. So the big leather slings and whatever, when I'm going light, this is actually a backpacking type of strap. And here's my swivels that go on my gun. And if I ever got in a situation where I'm dragging a deer and I have to sling my gun, here's my ultralight version. I always bring 2 lighters. You see, wrapped around a lighter, I have Leuco tape or duct tape. Duct tape is actually a good form of fire starter. Leuco tape, if you haven't used it, it's for blisters. Okay, Leuco tape works for a lot of different things, but wrapping it around a lighter is, you know, a super convenient way of keeping a smaller amount in the woods. So 2 lighters. Something else, a little thing that I've tended to like is a little digital thermometer. I like to know where the temperatures are at overnight or in the morning. So I carry a little digital thermometer, and when I get up in the morning, I just want to know, like, it tells me how to dress. It tells me how to layer and whatever. So weighs practically nothing. My old buck knife. It's 40 years old or so. So that's all I carry for a knife in the woods. For eating, most of the time I'm eating dehydrated food in packs and rehydrating. So I have a titanium spork, fork, spoon, deep, long handle for getting inside the dehydrated food packages. Another item that Dennis and I have, you know, when you get back there, sometimes you want some good distilled water. So a good shot of cold distilled water in the titanium flask, we sort of enjoy that. You know, you can't enjoy a cold beer 10 miles in the woods, and if you did, it's a lot of work to get it there. The only other thing I want to show you is some sort of emergency fire starter. You know, I was in brook trout fishing in the rain, shivering, had my lighters, didn't have any fire starter, and after an hour and a half of getting tinder and bark and whatever together, I'm like, I've got to start carrying some good fire starter. I don't care if you use cotton balls and Vaseline and whatever. Here's a product that I found that works wonders. It's called Pyro Putty Winter, made in the USA. And you take, it's like fibers, it's almost like cotton balls and whatever with paraffin, but I'll tell you what, you put a little of this in a little film canister or in a plastic bag. Always have some sort of fire starter, because when it's raining and or wet snow and everything is completely wet and you think the pine boughs and the fine stuff will start and they don't, you wish you had something like this to get that initial. Once you get it going, you're good. But boy, I struggled a couple of times. Never again, especially during hunting season. So that's pretty much it. That's my weekend lightweight pack. Okay? No hot tenting, cold tenting. Early November. That'll do it. Good luck, and if there's any questions on anything, drop Big Woods Bucks a line.
Hi gang, just wanted to let you know and bring you up to speed on some of the gear that we may be using later in the season. So what Dave was just able to show you earlier was kind of like a earlier season, early November. I want you to see what we're doing on a later, colder time of year. Let's put us into after Thanksgiving, where the temperatures are going to drop dramatically. Nighttime temps could be in single digits to near zero. So with that, you're going to have a heavier pack. So in no order, I wanted to just kind of show you right from the beginning. First and foremost, I'm going to have, when we get to our location, obviously this is my Seek Outside Cimarron that I just wanted to show you. Size-wise, what these will be in the pack. And obviously we're going to start setting up our shelter. But with these types of tents, we have trekking poles that we always are having to utilize on our hike in. This pack I'm carrying for this time of season, you're probably looking in the mid to low 30 pound range. All right, so I'm thinking about 4 or 5 days is what you're going to see here. I didn't particularly put a lot of clothing in here to show you, but I wanted to show you products that we have found over the years that has helped make what we're doing more comfortable, easier, less stressful. So with these trekking pole tents, case in point with this Cimarron, there's an item now that's been out there for a couple years made by Tracer. Literally about a 3-ounce little device that you're able to put both your trekking poles in, tighten up, and now you can have an adjustable center pole. Again, you don't have to carry in a pole or look for a pole. You can literally utilize what you already have carried in, which again, because of weights, because of the hikes in, stream crossings, things of that nature, as I get older, I'm finding trekking poles are more and more important and something that I constantly have on me, or it's in the side of my pack. Dave already mentioned, but I want to bring it up again, the ability, how we make use of some of the products we have at home. Obviously the Tyvek or some of the construction materials that allows us to basically utilize gear that we currently already have. Again, something you may see when you're out with the family, when you're seeing things at Walmart or Lowe's or whatever it may be. There's a lot of times my mind's going to, hey, that might be able to be useful when we do what we do in November. Case in point, gallon bags. Doing a little catering with the local restaurant, found out the more water that we could pump, think about it, you got about a 15, 20 degree day, you got to go down to that local stream and pump water. You want to do it once. You want to take as much as you can. Not to mention, the higher that water volume in that bag, the less likely it's going to freeze overnight as well. So one of those items that we happen to see that we're utilizing in the backcountry. Speaking of water, a couple of items as well. For lightweight use is the Sawyer Squeeze that we also use with the Smart Water bottles. Water in the Adirondacks is all over the place. We don't have to carry water to obviously do what we do each and every single day. So having lightweight water bottle with a purifier that's already on your side day pack, and I'll show you that in a second, is just something that we found is obviously a lot easier than carrying maybe a liter of water. Dave made mention of it. Again, what we wear and the things that we have found has been so beneficial. When you get those rains, snow melts, a lot of the trail systems on the Adirondacks are pretty muddy. These gaiters, boot gaiters, that we used to never wear this stuff. We have found that when you're inside an outfit, cleanliness is everything. There's nothing worse than being soaked with big muddy boots that you want to take off and make a mess. The ability now to have these already on those boots, and you're able to obviously have a much cleaner boot to hang in the camp. Not to mention keeping the calves warm. We found that the durability with these gaiters as well helps with the life of our boots themselves as far as wear and tear. Nalgene bottles, very common. The plastics and some of the platypus bags that were available, I found that going to these hard Nalgene bottles, I carry 2 of them. And the primary reason, not just for carrying water, remember, we're talking about single-digit temps at night. I have the ability on these hot stoves to boil water before we go to bed. Pour them in these Nalgene bottles, throw them in, obviously with a tight lid, into your bag. You just now dramatically increase the warmth of your bag just by utilizing something as simple as these Nalgene hard bottles. Just something that you learn, again, when you're freezing, the things that make you more comfortable in the backcountry. Dave already expounded on this, but again, I want to mention the importance of these little Z-pads. Not only do we use it obviously for kneeling around in the camp, I literally carry this in my day pack that's out in the field with me, and there's places I want to sit on a log, on a watch, on a rock. Having that insulation factor between you and what you're sitting on, huge. Just opening this up again in no apparent order, I just wanted to show you gear and things that we have found. As I've gotten older, my eyes aren't what they used to be, and I never thought I'd be the type of guy that would be carrying one of these, but I now carry, late in the season, mind you, snow on the ground, I carry a bino harness now on me, and the ability to be able to scan and break down country, especially when I'm on a track and I know I'm getting close to a bedding area, having these high on my chest and the ability to literally break down ground before I step into it, I have had more success in identifying things that I never would have saw without these. FHF gear now makes a lot of these types of products, but these accessories where we can now carry our inReach right there on the side, and obviously with the antenna exposed, just little pockets. My wrist compass watch compass that I use. But one thing, just an FYI, and this is something I learned on my own, a lot of these covers now come with magnetic closures. Don't be alarmed if you find your wrist compass or your bubble compass and you're acting a little funny. That's the one thing I learned, that with these magnetic closures, sometimes they affect the compass. So I have to make a point of making sure I'm looking at my compass away from this because it does affect it. But again, these binos, again, I only use them late in the season when I'm able to break down and have that white background. It's amazing the things I've been able to see with them. Here's a day pack that I just, again, use. This is just something like Dave, it's just a small little backpack, but the ability to have everything on my back. This is just, I'm just showing you what I carry in. This is obviously post-success. We're fortunate to get an animal. I'm gonna leave this in my main pack back at the tent. But in here I have all my meat bags, all right? I have a 3-in-1 knife that has 3 different blades. It has a serrated blade if I would need to cut off through the neck. It has the gut hook if I was to use that to go down the back, not the front or the belly. And lastly, a knife. But this is a little bit of a weight I don't want to carry with me every day. So if I'm successful, I'm going to have this back at the tent with my bags, and I have a little knife sharpener as well. But something to be prepared when you are successful in the backfield, to have things ready to go. Some other things, talking about water as well. If you want to go really light, and like I said, we have the Sawyer bottle with the Sawyer squeeze. We have now these life straws that you can have with a Ziploc bag that you can literally have in your pocket. Again, you're coming across water all the time in the Adirondacks, but having the ability to have it on you, or while you're backpacking in where you don't have to take your pack off, this is a great lightweight feature to keep you hydrated throughout the day. Dave mentioned a couple things about headlamps. I'm not going to go over a lot of that again, but there's bubble compasses, things that I have in my everyday pack that I do the same with. Same thing, backup GPSs. We have, one thing is, we're always using these phones, right? Onyx has been such a phenomenal resource for all of us in the backcountry. And over time, I've learned the use that I'm having on my battery in my phone daily. So we'll go on airplane mode, and we're finding that we're using about, and you'll probably see the same, 25% of the battery life in these phones, smartphones, while you're on airplane mode. So that tells me that technically I could get probably 3, maybe 4 days use as long as I'm strict with airplane mode. But I'll show you the battery backup systems that we have, but that's just what we're seeing on day-to-day usage of some of these electronics that we have on us and the consumption of power that they're going through. Real cool idea I found. Again, a lot of our content, a lot of these ideas we get from a lot of the Western outdoorsmen that are out there with the gear that they're using and some of the companies. Peak refuel meals, I think they're a phenomenal product, but we're always looking to see how we can minimize, how we can lighten weight. These Mylar bags, do a phenomenal job of holding these products long term. However, their weight. They're probably about 1.5 ounces per bag. We found with the Hyperlight, they have a little koozie. And I just for demonstrations took an example of what we've gone to the past few years. So I'll use and make sure they're branded SC Johnson Ziploc Boil quart bags. I will take the product out of this bag, put it in here. I will mark on there what the directions say for the amount of water as far as ounces. This product now that we have on our cook stove, obviously boiling water, I'll dump that amount in this bag, literally zip it up, and I'll put it in this koozie and shake it up and let it sit for about 10 minutes. You could put it in your coat, you could put it in your sleeping bag. The point is, at the end of the meal, obviously with my long spoon, I'll eat right out of this bag. But at the end of this meal, I'm just taking this Ziploc bag and putting it in the stove and it's gone. But I saved 1.5 ounces roughly on this Mylar bag. Multiply that times a 5 to 6 day hunt, so you just save half a pound. And you're more efficient coming out of the backcountry, and again with a much cleaner camp than having these around camp. Just an idea that I saw. As the years have gone on, we've gotten more and more about the home comforts that we want to bring in the backfield. A little coffee brewer. I literally have this in the backfield that we'll boil our water, put a filter in here with our coffee, streaming in, brewed. And there's nothing better than a cold morning in a back country outfit with the smell of Dunkin' Donuts coffee before you go off on your day. It's priceless. What else we got in here? Lighting in the outfits. We used to use these a while ago. These are, they come rechargeable or solar charged. Great resource. Thing in November in the Adirondacks, we don't have a lot of sunny days. I mean, these are great for charging and they'll probably hold for maybe 2 days. But like Dave said earlier, we've now gone to these flex tails. You'll hear me reference like with the trekking poles. Anytime you could get multiple use out of one product. So in addition to obviously inflating our pads, we have the light source at 3 different settings, but we also have help with maybe getting a flame going in one of our stoves with putting this on backflow and being able to illuminate a coal or get something going. Poseidon battery bank, 10,000 amp. Again, I'm probably, if you're looking at what that means, an equation of what we do day for day, if I was to have my phone go to 0, I probably get 3 full charges with this 10,000 amp battery bank. But a lot of products now, whether it's the inflatable flex tail or the lights, are rechargeable system. So for a week to carry this and be able to have access to power has been pretty cool in the recent years. Another product that I love in the backcountry is these silky saws. This is the Gamboy. These things are lightweight, great in the backcountry, strong grips. Remember, you're thinking snow, rain. There's nothing worse than having a hard plastic grip that you can slip, you can cut yourself. These things are minimal, but there's nothing that you need more sometimes than when you're looking for wood and you maybe need to cut through some dead limbs, things of that nature. Having this in your pack has done us a world of good. Fire starters. We mentioned this earlier in some of the other segments. Bushcraft fire plugs we've used a lot. The trioxane. We have lighters obviously all over the place. Some of these lighters, I learned there's a little safety tab that's on some of these lighters that you can pluck off that makes striking these a lot easier. When your hands are cold, little items are sometimes difficult to use, so sometimes you have to do what you can do to make those easier. If there's one product that's probably the cheapest product that I've gotten the most use out of that has been, and we heard the phrase often, a game changer. This is a product called a pocket bellows. All right, I want you to picture either you went out in the morning on a rainy day, you got a stove going, cranking, and you got to leave that warmth, and you got to come back about 4 hours later, and you're sopping wet, and you want to get all your gear off, and you want to get it dried out, and you can see the embers still in that stove. This thing collapses down, and to have the ability to blow and get those coals going, whether you're coming back in the middle of the day or even in the morning when you're first trying to get that stove lit and you got that little flame, you need a little air to it, This thing has been awesome. I have a couple of these. I carry one in my day pack if I want to start a fire in the field, and I have one right next to the stove for us that has been awesome to get something that is difficult to get going, literally get a heat going and help you out in the morning. What else we got here? We mentioned obviously the importance of keeping clothing. I didn't bring a lot of it, but I have a variety of different hats and materials, keeping heat in the body, sleeping at night. We use obviously a lot of the traditional water pump systems. Again, these are something that is essential to do, but when we do it, we want to do as much volume as we can and carry it back to the tent so we don't have to keep going out every single day. And point two is when you're in those cold conditions, throw this in a gallon Ziploc bag and throw it in your sleeping bag, or hang it up high in the teepee during the day. Dry everything out, because what happens is if there's water that's still in here and freezes, you're going to harm the fibers in this filter, which could lead to a scary situation later. So always know when you get in those cold temps, anything that's wet is going to freeze and you could lead to problems. The cup systems that we use for boiling water, we use these, at least I use these titanium cups. I'll always have one on the stove full of water so that we have the ability to always have hot boiling water ready to go. I don't need a ton, but just something. A lot of times these meals, they only need less than 6 ounces of water. So it's something that we always carry with us that are lightweight. I happen to use this MSR little fire starter if I do happen to use butane, but I don't carry this a lot. I carry it for maybe if I'm doing something unique out in the field. Remember, we got those stoves in these tents. That's our cooking source. That's our heating source. That's our boiling water source. So I don't need to carry in something else unless it's earlier in the season. Dave mentioned about, and I won't go into great detail, but the down clothing, like he said, these Stone Glacier pants, we've gotten to the point now where we're pounding as many miles as we can during the day to find what we're looking for. And there's a lot of times, maybe middle of the day, you want to stop for that meal or have lunch. You take and slow down, your body starts to chill. If you could get maybe that merino wool dried out as fast as you can, we found taking a little softball-sized ball out of your day pack and throwing on a jacket, throwing on these down pants, how quick your body heat is retained in that clothing is amazing, where you're more comfortable, and not to mention mentally you're in the moment and staying in the moment and not thinking, I got to go back to that tent, I got to warm up, I'm freezing out here. So that has been, again, a game changer for us the past few years. But I want to compound that with now a new item I'm starting this year, and that's a new sleep system. So I have a product by Adirondack called a Flex 22 quilt. I used to do synthetic. This is the first year I'm going to go to a down item, and I found that the versatility that I'm reading about in reviews, especially like I said with a lot of the Western guys, I can now utilize the down pants and jacket in my sleep system. I can assure you, every morning when I wake up on those cold, cold mornings, I don't want to have to change. I don't want to have to seek clothing out of my pack, put it on. I already want to wear it while I'm in my system. I made a point, and I've learned this through reviews, of getting a wider bag in this quilt system. The reason why is I'm now able to have a much wider range for a comfort level while sleeping. If I have this down on and I am in a regular size bag, I'm compressing the down. I'm not getting the heat value out of that garment as if I would if I have a wider bag that's able to lay over me and keep obviously that loft to where it is supposed to be. So the versatility with this system, I can literally range from 40 degree all the way down to 0 because of the ability to utilize the product that I already have in my bag. So that's something I'm really looking forward to, is using and dialing in this year. Pillow. Yes, there's so many lighter pillows out there, smaller, compact. I have found over time, sleep is the most, next to the food that we eat, if we don't sleep, it's a struggle the following day. I know by 1 o'clock the following day, if I don't get a good night's rest, I am stumbling by 1 o'clock, and I am lousy in trying to do what I'm trying in the backcountry. I have found this product by Nemo called the Pillow. This expands, but this is as close to my home pillow as I can find. And let me tell you, it is a difference maker for me. I am lights out with having that ability where I have a shoulder and head support. So that's something I found the past few years that works for me. A little dry cloth. I mentioned earlier in some of the other segments about getting condensation off these outfits, getting them especially where water is pooling and or snow is melting. Having the ability to dry things off, rinse this thing out over and over. Very lightweight, very helpful. I think outside of that, Dave mentioned, and I'm going to say it again, we have gone with Xped with these pads, which have been phenomenal. I like to get, again, a wider piece of equipment. And the reason why is traditionally a lot of pads are 20-inch wide. For me, if I'm on my back, I have then my elbow sliding off the pad, which is frustrating, keeps me up. 5 extra inches, a 25-inch wide pad has made a world of difference for me. I can toss, I can turn. I am not having anything falling off the side of that pad. And we mentioned also to possibly position maybe it's camp shoes or a long branch or something to keep you kind of in the center of that pad if you're on uneven ground. But wider bag, wider pad is more weight. However, I am sleeping 10 times better than I ever have in the past, and I am so much more enjoying my backcountry experience, and quite frankly, being much more clear-minded when I'm out in the field because I have had a good night's rest. But overall, that's really a lot of the gear that we use each and every single day out there. But late season is totally different than that early part of the season. And the last thing I'll have that I started using, down booties. You would think, is that really making a world of difference? Let me tell you, it does. Again, when you wake up and it's 5 degrees out and the tent's got to warm up yet, already being clothed, already being warm, you're already starting the day off on the right note, and all you got to do is obviously do what you need to do to finish it on the right note. So all these things come into a factor to make you more comfortable, to make you more enjoyable, and to embrace the backcountry experience. You don't have to, try to make long miles in a car. You could go back, be efficient. You don't have to walk the miles back and forth. Get back there, stay back there, and have a world of fun. That's what it's all about. Lastly, have a lot of success with my Seek Outside pack. This is the Divide I've had now for probably close to 9 years. It's done me a world of good. Carries a lot of extra weight. The one thing we always like to do is be prepared if you got to carry out that boned out meat of that animal, and you're probably looking anywhere from 35 to 40 pounds if you are successul. So to be able to have all this and obviously carry that additional weight on the way back, I don't want to go back and forth to my vehicle. I want everything there, one place, one stop. But it's been a world of good for me. These accessory features for my phone, for any electrical devices that we need, to have that on my hip on the way in has been an awesome thing for me to have. But so that's basically the setup. That's majority of the gear that Dave and I use in the backcountry. But please, knowledge is so key on having a successful time in the backcountry. If you have any questions, please send them through to Big Woods Bucks. Get them over to Dave and I. We'd be happy to answer any of your gear questions or anything that you may have with any of the backcountry experiences and get that out to you so you can start your adventure today.